First Coast News special presentation brought to you by AC Designs, Bigfoot Roofing, and Guidewell Insurance. As a new dawn breaks over the First Coast, a warning from meteorologists that a new hurricane season is here.
Positions can be replaced, your family cannot.
During this hurricane special, we will show you how to prepare, how to survive, and what Mother Nature could send our way this hurricane season.
Are you ready?
We'll go back in time to see if the past can tell us anything about the future. It's all on Hurricane Ready 2018, ahead of impact. From the First Coast Weather Center, here is storm expert Tim Deegan.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. Another hurricane season is here. So during the next half hour, we're going to take a look at why we need to prepare, what we need to prepare for, and we're going to be on your side with the essential items ahead of the storm. Preseason hurricane predictions are out this year, and the experts at Colorado State University are forecasting 14 named storms, 7 of those becoming hurricanes, and 3 major hurricanes. When we stack these numbers against the 30-year averages, all signs point to a season that should be near average, but that's the new average, and the new average means an active season.
August 24th, 2017. The Republic of Mali. Over the skies, a new terror is formed. The system formed where many others do. Fortunately for residents in the Western Hemisphere, few African waves survived the trek across the Atlantic. August 30th, 2017. Meteorologists at the National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida, report that the area of disturbed weather that was off the coast of Africa gained enough organization to classify it as the 9th named tropical system of the year. Even with a new threat born in the basin, many were still captivated by the 8th named system's catastrophic flooding.
Evacuees who have left their homes with their pets, trash bags filled with belongings, whatever they could get out of their homes.
There's been so much water and so much force. Look over my shoulder. That is FM 762 here in Rosenberg, right near 59 Highway.
This is still an emergency situation, and I think that's the danger here, you know.
September 5th, 2017. City leaders gather after warnings from meteorologists that another potential catastrophic storm is on the horizon.
The message today is, it is just that. Be prepared.
The tone from city leaders would grow more serious with the passing of each day. September 8th, 2017. With the threat of a significant storm surge becoming a distinct possibility, city leaders delivered an ultimatum to residents living in low-lying areas.
Please, A, B, mobile homes, low-lying areas, leave today.
September 10th, 2017. Conditions across Northeast Florida start to deteriorate as the Category 3 hurricane starts its path up the peninsula of Florida. First Coast News reporters battle the conditions, showing viewers the impact of the storm.
Irma has been a monster here for us overnight, and now we're waking up. We're going to get twilight here very soon.
And we are going to continue keeping you guys updated from there about the wind speeds, the conditions.
I'm going to step out a little bit, and you're going to start to... This is the force of the wind, the actual wind coming in.
Unbeknownst to many, daylight would shed light on the massive storm's biggest threat. September 11th, 2017. Mayor Curry delivers an address to an audience watching worldwide.
Please put what represents a white flag, anything white, somewhere on your house that can be viewed visibly from outside. We have search and rescue teams ready to deploy. We have state assets coming in. I spoke to the governor this morning. Fish and Wildlife are sending in people. We want to make sure that everybody gets through this safe.
Due to a combination of record rainfall and an increased sea level rise, water levels in rivers and tributaries rose to levels unseen in modern times. Many first-level apartments and homes in neighborhoods prone to flooding destroyed. Out of the destruction, a sense of hope and community born. an effort never seen before in our area, and the hope by all that scenes of destruction transform into distant memories.
Coming up next, we're going to hear from world-renowned hurricane experts and what they have to say about the upcoming season. But before we head to the break, can you answer this hurricane trivia question? How many hurricanes have made landfall in Florida since records first started back in 1878?
With hurricane season here, you need an experienced roofing company you can trust. Bigfoot Roofing is there for you when disaster strikes, dedicated to bringing you premier service and results. Call or go to BigfootRoofing.com to schedule your estimate today.
Is your AC struggling to keep up with the summer heat? AC Designs can keep you cool and comfortable with a brand new energy-efficient system for as little as $45 a month. Request your free estimate by calling 866-COOL or visit acdesignsjax.com.
When you call us for help, we answer, even at 3 o'clock in the morning. Try us, holidays, nights, and weekends, because justice never sleeps. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
Did you know 1/3 of all submitted claims were flatly denied after Hurricane Irma? Many homeowners didn't have flood coverage or had a high hurricane deductible. At GWIA.com, we're here to help. We offer great rates and can easily switch your home insurance to a plan with less exposure, even if your home insurance is escrowed through your mortgage lender. Call one of our professional licensed agents today and let us perform a review of your protection needs. Guidewell Insurance Agency, from help to home to highway, you're covered.
I've met many champions, people battling the impossible.
That's why we're teaming up for two very important causes.
For the J.T. Townsend Foundation and a grant for pancreas cancer research.
You can be a champion for hope by donating today.
AC Designs is proud to be Jacksonville's home comfort experts. Trust our technicians to provide you with superior service, skilled workmanship, competitive pricing, and the best warranty in the industry. Visit acdesignsjax.com or call 866-COOL to schedule an appointment today.
With hurricane season here, you need an experienced roofing company you can trust. Bigfoot Roofing is there for you when disaster strikes, dedicated to bringing you premier service and results. Call or go to BigfootRoofing.com to schedule your estimate today.
Welcome back. Before the break, we asked you how many hurricanes have made landfall in Florida. The answer, 117. Hey, here's some good news. Last year, meteorological forecast tracks of hurricanes were the best ever recorded. In 2010, the average track error for 5 days out was over 300 miles. Compare that to last year's error, and the average was reduced to around 180 miles. Because of the more accurate forecast, you may notice the cone of concern for this year's storms will be narrower, giving you a more accurate picture of the potential path of a storm. Storm expert Lauren Ratkrantz sat down with some of the planet's leading hurricane forecasters to take a look at lessons learned, and they're going to share them with us.
When mistakes are made, lessons are learned, but it's how you apply those lessons moving forward. That's the theme of this year's Governor's Hurricane Conference. It's held for folks in emergency management, healthcare, disaster relief, even the media to collaborate. They all talk about things they've learned from prior hurricane seasons and think about what we can all do better in the future.
The conversation has to be about water. 50% of the fatalities in tropical systems comes from the storm surge. Another 25% from the inland rain. Way inland. Hurricane Camille, more people were killed inland from water than a Cat 5 on the coast.
Communicating risk is one of the top things on the agenda. You often hear, oh, it's just a Category 1, or oh, it's never flooded here before. Maybe even, I'll only evacuate if it's a Category 3. Well, guess what? Each storm is different. And although it only takes one can become a bumper sticker, there is science behind it.
The science is driving everything. So the responsibility is immense because, you know, if you have an evacuation or there's a school closure for any one of these events, there's science behind those decisions. It's science-based. So everything that we do, you base it on the best science, and it's not the perfect science because with weather, different things can happen, the unexpected. Even with the perfect forecast, some unexpected impacts can't happen.
And also, you know, those seasonal predictions, like there will be 10 tropical storms or 5 hurricanes. While that's great, it's not a prediction of where they will hit. We as meteorologists, as media, as government officials need to change the conversation and work towards finding a way to better communicate, say, flooding and rainfall, even damaging wind risks.
Think about this, 90% of fatalities are from water. The conversation has to be about water. And a big vision of mine is we take a moderate or high risk of flooding as serious as a moderate or high risk of tornadoes. There's a difference right now, and I think we need to bring those responses closer together.
Little tiny wiggles in a storm's track can mean huge differences in what people see in their neighborhood. The National Hurricane Center has a new director starting this year, and Ken Graham is looking to challenge meteorologists and even officials to improve forecasting with the end goal to keep people safe.
We actually can't use Irma as the benchmark. Every single time we get another hurricane, especially a busy season, we use it as the benchmark. They're all so completely different. It's not about the category. And my previous example being in the last 10 years in New Orleans, there was more water in Lake Pontchartrain from a Category 1 Hurricane Isaac than Katrina. How could that be? They're all different. So large storms, and especially slow ones, are our nemesis.
To sum it all up, though, we need to build a culture of preparedness and know that things aren't always going to go 100% according to plan. So what do? Be flexible and be ready to improvise. Reporting from a rainy South Florida and Palm Beach County, I'm Lauren Rautenkranz for First Coast News, on your side.
Thanks, Lauren. Well, with at least the potential for an active season, there are steps you can take right now to protect life and property. Put together a disaster supply kit including flashlights, batteries, and supplies, and copies of your critical information. You can print a checklist off right now by heading to firstcoastnews.com and clicking on the hurricane section. Look over your property. Trim or remove damaged trees and limbs to keep you and your property safe. Clean any gutters and downspouts that appear clogged. And finally, determine if you're in an evacuation zone. If so, do you know how to get out and where you will go? Coming up, we'll show you how you can make your home hurricane ready. Before we take a break, can you answer this hurricane trivia question? What was the strongest sustained wind in our area during Hurricane Irma?
An accident or on-the-job injury can happen anytime, and the injuries can last a lifetime. That's why we're open now, holidays, nights, and weekends, because justice never sleeps. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
What if we told you the best internet for your home was also a great value? Introducing Xfinity XFi. Discover how much more you can get out of internet with the speed, coverage, and control you need throughout your home. Call 1-800-948-1010 and get started with Xfinity Internet for just $19.99 a month for 12 months. Xfinity delivers the best in-home Wi-Fi experience to keep everyone rocking online, with speed you can count on for an incredible price. Or upgrade for access to Xfinity Wi-Fi and stay connected with millions of hotspots nationwide. Call 1-800-948-1010 and get started with Xfinity Internet for just $19.99 a month for 12 months, now with even more speed. Xfinity XFi will change the way you Wi-Fi. You can view all the connected devices in your home and manage Wi-Fi to any device at any time. See for yourself how much value you can get out of internet built to keep up with your family. Call 1-800-948-1010 today.
I'm Robert Palmer, president of RP Funding. If you're looking to pay your home off sooner, cash out the equity in your home, or just lower your monthly mortgage payments, I'm here to help. All you need to do is refinance your mortgage with RP Funding. And as always, I'll pay all your closing costs. I've paid over $30 million in closing costs for homeowners just like you. So now, let me pay yours. Go to rpfunding.com or call today.
Ooh, nice pick. Follow. First Coast News. Nice. Follow. Sweet. Follow First Coast News on Instagram.
Before the break, we asked, what was the strongest sustained wind in our area during Hurricane Irma? The answer is 59 miles per hour. That is the strength of a moderate tropical storm. Storm expert Mike Prangley is here to take a virtual look at how meteorologists categorize hurricanes.
Hurricane season is here, and you're going to hear a lot about the Saffir-Simpson scale. What is that? What is a Category 1? Well, this is when we see wind speeds that are sustained at 74 to 95 miles per hour. Now, even in Category 1, you can have big issues, okay? And we're talking about catastrophic flooding. So if you're told to evacuate, you want to make sure you do so. Now, by the time we get to Category 2, now we start to talk about winds of 96 to 110 miles per hour. We're worried about flooding. We're worried about losing siding and some roofing. You never want to be in a car or a mobile home. This is like an EF0, EF1 tornado. And then by the time we get to Category 3, that's what we consider a major hurricane. You never want to have to live through one of these. Folks that have experienced them, it's just an awful feeling. You've got a lot of wind, it's tough to hear, and you're really worried about your structure just holding up. Even the secured structures out there, and flooding becomes even more of a concern. By the time we get to Category 4, yes, some devastating effects across the area as wind speeds really start to crank over 130 to 150 miles per hour. And by the time we get to Category 5, that's what we call catastrophic, likely catastrophic damage to structures, flooding, and yes, usually when you retire those hurricane names. So remember this hurricane season, we're not worried too much about the cone or even the category. Join us at First Coast News and we'll let you know the hazards, what you and your family need to do to stay safe.
Believe it or not, even the weakest of hurricanes can send projectiles flying through the air. Storm expert Steve Fendero talked to a local window company that will share some of the latest technology of windows that don't shatter.
Florida, no stranger to sunshine.
Very heavy rain.
Is also no stranger to severe weather. The state of Florida sees more days in a year with at least one thunderstorm than any other state in the country. What else is it known for? Hurricanes.
I'm kind of a hurricane nerd.
Meet Kevin Pound with Eagle View Windows and Doors.
Calls me out there. He had a window. The pressure was so big, he had a window sucked out of his home.
He knows a thing or two about home safety during times of severe weather.
Make things better for people living through these kind of situations and these storms, right?
Especially in Jacksonville. I'm born and raised. When I remember hurricanes, I remember people from Jacksonville saying, don't worry about it. And then came Hurricane Matthew. That was something to worry about.
A summer thunderstorm, spring tornado, or hurricane, your windows become extremely vulnerable. So I had to ask, if all those tricks to protect your home windows were true. You know, taping the big X on the window, leaving the window cracked open, or leaning things against them. Short answer, all bad ideas. Which is why those at Eagle View have developed a really, really strong window. Some say hurricane-proof, others say super. Kevin says high impact.
On a high impact window, basically you have 2 panes of glass and you have a laminate in the middle of it. Okay? And it's not developed not to break, it's developed not to let anything in.
And by not let anything in, Kevin is referring to flying debris.
The chances of being in a 200-mile-an-hour thrust of wind, you know what I mean, a gust of wind, it's like you would need the storm right on your doorstep. Right. You know, but the chances of, say, an 80 to 90-mile-an-hour wind gust throwing something at your window is much greater.
You know, those hurricanes don't happen every day, but those thunderstorms do.
We are the thunderstorm state. So whether it's a hurricane or a tropical storm or a thunderstorm in the summer or just a windy day, it's not necessarily the wind that does the damage, but it's what the wind is throwing. So let's put these windows to test, throw some at them. All right, here's what we got. Moxie soda bottle, coffee mug, a rock, 2x2. First up, the 2x2. Oh man, I didn't stretch for this. Next up, some good old soda. We got soda on the camera. Mug. FCN rocks. Because all those little things didn't work. I'm gonna try this. It's so the layer on the outside, yeah, it's all the glass that it's shattered and broken, but with the layers on the inside, I mean, this stuff on the inside of the house is not even shattered.
Now these windows do cost a pretty penny, but Kevin hopes to break a mindset he feels many have along the First Coast. That being, it's not important until it happens to me, especially as we head into hurricane season.
What keeps me going is the people that we touch on a daily basis, that we're able to educate, that we're able to help out.
Stephen Darrow, alongside photographer Jeff Renfro, First Coast News, on your side.
On your side's Ken Amaro, helping you avoid ripoffs and scams for more than 30 years. Tonight, Ken Amaro is helping you save money while stocking up on hurricane supplies.
The hurricane season is upon us, and we're looking into which hardware stores provide the best deals. There are no two chains with a bigger footprint on the First Coast than Lowe's and Home Depot. But is shopping at those two chains the best for your wallet? Lowe's and Home Depot have been around for decades. Both brand themselves as the leader in the home improvement industry. And with any hurricane season, there are several items that you're encouraged to buy before a storm. Some of the essential items include flashlights, batteries, plastic sheeting, duct tape, and plywood. A recent review by Cheapism.com put both home improvement stores to the test. The group looked at several aspects of shopping at the major retailers, including price, shopping experience, and return policy. Cheapism.com reports that items at Lowe's tend to be cheaper in price, but there is a caveat. Both retailers offer price match guarantees, with Home Depot even willing to take an additional 10% off items. Cheapism says Lowe's stores are easier to navigate and their general return policy is more consumer-friendly than Home Depot's. But as always, don't wait to prepare for a storm. The longer you wait, the harder it will be to take advantage of better deals or even some of the essentials that are now sitting on store shelves. Ken Amaro, First Coast News, on your side.
Thanks, Ken. Before we go to break, here comes the last hurricane trivia question of the night. Which is the last hurricane to make landfall in Northeast Florida? Irma, Jeanne, Donna, or Dora?
With hurricane season here, you need an experienced roofing company you can trust. Bigfoot Roofing is there for you when disaster strikes, dedicated to bringing you premier service and results. Call or go to BigfootRoofing.com to schedule your estimate today.
If you've been hurt in an accident or on the job, don't wait to call. Evidence gets lost and stories get changed. Don't waste time waiting for some other law firm to open. Call us. We never close because justice never sleeps. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
Strong storm, the trees are down and the lights are out.
Not much you could do without power.
No air conditioning, no refrigerator.
Now what?
I get how strong the storm was, but I need my power back.
We get it. We don't just work for FPL, we're customers too.
After a storm hits, restoring power safely and as quickly as possible is our #1 priority. That's why we never stop preparing. We make sure we use the latest technology and have the best resources in place so we can be ready to respond in good weather and bad. We're not going to stop until all our lights are back on. For your family, for ours, in every community we serve, count on us.
Storm season is here. We're ready. Are you?
A hurricane has an eye focused on devastation. One team has an eye focused on your safety.
Hurricanes are dangerous, and we forecast with a different attitude, with you in mind.
First Coast News Storm Experts, powered by AC Designs.
With hurricane season here, you need an experienced roofing company you can trust. Bigfoot Roofing is there for you when disaster strikes, dedicated to bringing you premier service and results. Call or go to BigfootRoofing.com to schedule your estimate today.
Before the break, we asked you which was the last hurricane to make landfall in Northeast Florida. The answer might surprise you. It's been over 50 years since the last landfalling hurricane in Northeast Florida. You have to go back to Dora, 1964, to see the effects of a direct landfall on the First Coast. Now, well before the main core of a hurricane arrives, you're going to have to know how to evacuate and where to evacuate to. Here's traffic anchor Katie Jeffries.
Whenever there is a tropical storm or a hurricane that may be headed towards Jacksonville, one of the big questions is, when will the bridges close? Well, I don't have a definite answer on that, but I can give you kind of some facts that play into that decision. So basically, it has to reach 40-mile-per-hour sustained winds in Jacksonville for them to start considering closing bridges. Sustained means a minute or more. And basically, it's a decision that comes down to law enforcement and FDOT, but law enforcement makes that final decision because they're the ones who have to staff the closure of the bridge. And there's no set time given on when that will occur because, like I said, it has to meet this threshold of 40-mile-per-hour sustained winds for them to consider closing any bridges. And basically, just because one bridge closes doesn't mean all of them will close. The bridges that are at higher elevations, like the Matthews, the Hart, the Dames Point, those will likely close first because the winds will be stronger at those higher elevations. If you remember back during Irma, the Fuller Warren, it never closed because the winds never reached 40 miles per hour going across the Fuller Warren. Now, these bridge closures that take you across the Intracoastal, that's a little bit different. Sometimes those bridges will close just for evacuation purposes because once they've gotten people out of the beaches area, they obviously don't want, people coming into the beaches. So they'll sometimes close those bridges to prevent people from trying to head back into the evacuation zones that they've already cleared out, if that makes any sense. So the big thing to remember, 40-mile-per-hour sustained winds. That is the threshold for which they close the bridges. And again, there's no set time given. It's just something they watch and then make that decision. So if you are ever worried about being stuck on the wrong side of a bridge, just get where you need to be ahead of the storm.
Hopefully the last couple of years has been a great training exercise to prepare for when the big one hits. And remember, we're here for any type of severe weather. Thanks for joining us on First Coast News. And remember, the best time to prepare is now.
This has been a First Coast News special presentation brought to you by AC Designs, Bigfoot Roofing, and Guidewell Insurance.